Now, moving on from our last example, we're going to quickly create something akin to the flamethrower, because obviously if we've got evil snowmen, we need to figure a way of stopping them, and so melting them seems like the only way that Santa possibly could achieve this. So we will be using the shape tool, and we're just going to use the rectangle tool to create a couple of rectangles, which we will amend by adding a gradient fill to each one. And again, we don't want a stroke colour. The fill colour doesn't really matter at the moment. I'm just going to create one rectangle roughly around that size in comparison to the Santa clip. And then using the selection tool, I'm going to hover over each end again and just drawing out slightly to make it look a bit more like a barrel or chamber. Then by clicking on the shape to select it, I'm going to then click on the colour panel in the top right hand corner and choose, instead of solid colour from this drop down, I'm going to choose linear gradient, which will automatically change to a black to white gradient. So going through grey, I might just change that white a little bit by selecting that swatch and then making it slightly darker than white. And again in the colour palette, I'm then going to change the flow to reflect colour, and this will mean that the gradient is repeated in a way that creates the impression that we've got a solid shape. And then underneath the transform tool, we will find gradient transform tool, and I can then rotate the gradient itself inside of the shape and make it smaller, like so, and then reposition it like that. Until we get something along those lines. And the next rectangle I'm going to create will be slightly thinner and shorter, and I'll just create it out of the way to start off with. And again, using the gradient tool, this time I'm going to have some slightly deeper colours again compared to the first one, which was a bit more reflective. And so a bit more of a matte effect. Using the gradient transform tool, I'll rotate it and bring it in again, so it's a slightly different shape. And then using the selection tool, I'll do the same thing again, just bend out the end. It doesn't really matter about this bit because it's going to go underneath this section, so I'll right click and create a symbol graphic again, and that can be the muzzle. Okay, and actually we'd quite like that to be the registration point for this to be at the far end. So what we can do is, currently it's set to the centre of the shape, but if we have these panels where they normally live, and we can find the align one, which looks like a couple of bars from a bar chart. I'm going to select align to stage, and then we're going to align right edge. What should happen there is the whole shape shifts in relation to that point, so we can move that back out again. And with this one, I'm going to right click, convert to symbol, and we'll just call that chamber, and the registration point is irrelevant on this one, to be honest, we won't be using it that much. Okay, so then we can drag that over the top of this, and it starts to look something a bit more mechanical. And then one more thing I'm going to do is going into the chamber clip, I'm then going to create a circle shape, which will just be a flat grey colour to start off with. needs to be a size we could fit about 3 or 4 rows of these on the shape when we overlay it. I'm going to select that shape, right click, convert to symbol, and this time it's going to be a movie clip, and I'll just call that movie clip pull. And the reason we've used a movie clip instead of a graphic is because by doing so we're allowed to use certain filters, and the filter I'm particularly interested in is a bevel to try and give this shape a bit of a bevel along its edges. Okay, I'll just play with the settings a little bit. Anything that just gives us something a little bit more different, to a normal grey shape. Okay, and then what we can do is we can position that over the top of our chamber, and then when we select it, if we hover over and hold down the Alt key, you can then should be able to hold down Alt and select, drag a copy off. An alternative method would be to copy and paste and then reposition. Seeing that Alt click is slowing down my computer for some reason, so then we would do the same, either Alt click to drag, or just Control C to copy and paste. And then we move those three position slightly in along the centre, paste again, and these three can go down the bottom roughly aligned with the original three. And then we'll go back into scene 1. If we zoom out, it should look something like. And next thing we're going to do is we're just going to organise all of this into one movie clip. We're going to need to do that because when we create the game we need to have control of one specific object. So we select everything by dragging a marquee like that. Right click, convert to symbol, movie clip, and we'll just call that Santa. Okay, we're going to set the registration point to the middle bottom, so you'll see here a little square, and we want to click the middle bottom square of those. Okay, and then we'll double click on the new graphic object that we've created, the new movie clip. Just going to highlight these two together, convert those to symbol, they can just be movie clip again. And that can just be gun for now. I'll put registration point. Okay. Now we're going to need some layers, so let's put 4 layers in to start with. Layer 1 can be the body, and so layer 2 can be the arm, layer 3 can be the leg, we're going to leave the body, and layer 4 can be the head, and then we'll have one above the arm, and that can be the gun. And all we need to do is now arrange these individual symbols. So we select the head, right click, cut, select the head layer, and right click, paste in place. And then the same with every other object, so cut, paste, actually it's going to be a bit more around there, cut, that'll be paste in place, and move the arm above, the legs, cut, and then paste them there, paste in place. So when we select the body, that should be on anything that's on the body there. And now or organised as we need it to be. Okay. So I'm just going to draw a couple of extra bits on the gun layer using the paintbrush, which you'll notice has moved to a side in this version of Flash. Okay. The principles was change my brush size to something a little bit thicker. Just move my tools back over to that side. Okay. And I'm going to draw something along the lines of a strap, and just select that, maybe have a slightly brighter colour. And then I might have something a little bit more red, but deep red. Fuel bottle on centers back, and there we go. Okay, so that concludes the creation of our Santa movie clip, and we'll leave it there for this video.